Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're taking a sharp left turn. We're moving away from external crises and diving deep into a singular internal landscape of terror.
We are.
We're talking about one of the most common, most primal, and frankly most horrifying nightmares that's reported almost universally.
The feeling of your teeth crumbling in your mouth.
Exactly.
This is a deep dive into what we're calling Case File 002, the nightmare of crumbling teeth. Our source material is a synthesis of clinical psychological reports.
Drawn from patients who have this dream over and over again.
Right. So we have both the raw, visceral narratives and the clinical analysis. And our mission today is to do more than just, offer a simple dream interpretation.
We want to go deeper.
We want to confront the specific physical horror these reports detail, that sensation of disintegration, and show exactly how it connects to our deepest psychological fears of structural collapse and complete powerlessness.
And when you look at these patient reports, you realize this isn't the kind of startling dream you just shake off in the morning.
Yeah.
This is a genuinely traumatic experience. It's centered around the immediate, undeniable breakdown of bone, the very thing we rely on for stability.
Which is why we have to start with the physical experience.
Mm-hmm.
The sheer reality of the collapse in the dream is what sets the stage for everything that follows.
And the chaos, it rarely begins with a bang, does it?
It's insidious. That's what's so fascinating about the reports. The dream often starts with a really subtle sensation, a feeling that your mouth has been fundamentally compromised somehow.
It's the beginning of the corruption. I was struck by how consistently the reports reference that first sensory detail.
The gritty feeling.
Yes, the gritty feeling. People describe it like they suddenly have coarse sand or dust in their mouth. This is before they even realize their teeth are the source.
It's that moment your body stops being reliable, right before the chaos erupts.
So what is that grit a signal of?
That grit is crucial. It's a sensory precursor to decay. Your subconscious is signaling that something foreign is now present, or maybe something that shouldn't be particulate now is.
And then comes the confirmation.
Almost immediately. The dreamer inevitably goes to a bathroom mirror, looks in, and sees a small, terrifying pool of blood around the gums.
That sight, the blood, that's the hard evidence that something is violently wrong beneath the surface. And the speed with which it escalates from there it's genuinely unnerving.
It is. The reports detail how that initial discovery just gives way to destruction.
They notice a tooth is loose.
Yes. And while a loose tooth in waking life might be a nuisance, in the dream, the reports describe the internal panic accelerating that feeling until it's terrifyingly unstable.
So it's no longer just a minor wiggle.
No, it's an impending, catastrophic structural failure.
And the failure is confirmed in the most personal way possible. The dreamer reaches up to touch that front tooth, and it just detaches. It falls into the palm of their hand.
Just gone. A primal tool, your first line of defense, suddenly inert, a dead object.
But the clinical notes really emphasize that losing one tooth, as startling as that is, that's not the core trauma here.
No. The truly unique visceral horror of these crumbling teeth reports involves what happens next, specifically with the molars.
Foundation.
Exactly. The moles are the grinders. They're the teeth we rely on for actual power and endurance. And in these nightmares, they don't fall out cleanly.
What do the reports say?
The descriptions are shocking. The molars start disintegrating into tiny pieces. They crumble.
Like what?
Like old dry chalk under pressure.
Chalk. That detail is so powerful because it immediately conveys fragility, right? We think of teeth as enamel, the hardest part of the human body.
Mm-hmm.
To imagine that strength just dissolving into a fine powder, it speaks to a level of powerlessness that's almost absolute.
It's not just the loss of the tool. It's the annihilation of integrity itself. A complete loss of internal coherence. And think about the sensation of that.
I'd rather not.
A whole tooth falling out is shocking. But having your teeth powderized inside your mouth means the decay is active. It's ongoing and inescapable.
And the culmination of this whole dark narrative is that feeling of absolute paralysis.
Yes. The final moments are consistently defined by the inability to act. You can't cry out.
Because your mouth is literally full of broken teeth and blood.
Yeah.
Your ability to call for help, to speak, to scream, it's physically blocked by the evidence of your own collapse.
The physical state dictates the emotional collapse.
Hmm.
And the ultimate peak of the dream trauma is when the dreamer looks back in the mirror. And the collapse seems to spread beyond the mouth. They see their entire face seeming to cave in, reflecting this total disintegration of their identity.
It's that final statement in the reports that locks in the trauma for me. It feels 100% real. The panic is overwhelming.
And when something feels that real, that visceral, you can't just dismiss it.
No. That horror has to be mirroring something equally profound in your waking life, doesn't it?
Absolutely. The physical collapse is always a stand-in for a psychological one.
Yeah.
So we pivot now to the root of this fear.
Right.
The terrifying loss of control.
Okay, so what is the first conclusion from the psychological analysis? What do teeth fundamentally represent?
What's fascinating here is how the clinical analysis immediately grounds the symbolism in primal necessity. The primary interpretation is that this nightmare symbolizes a profound loss of power.
And why teeth specifically?
Because teeth aren't just for chewing. In the subconscious, they are our primal weapons.
The tools we use to eat, to fight, to assert ourselves. If you look at nature, teeth signify capability, aggression.
So losing those weapons, or worse, seeing them dissolve into chalk dust, represents a deeply rooted feeling of being, utterly disarmed, powerless.
So if I'm the listener and I'm having this dream, what kind of powerlessness is my subconscious waving a flag about? It can't just be a generic, I feel weak, can it?
Not at all. The analysis provides very pointed questions for the dreamer to consider. It's not just about being afraid to speak up, for example.
It's more than that.
It's about high-stakes silence. Are you in a situation where speaking your truth would result in, well, catastrophic consequences, potentially leading to the crumbling of your job or your relationship?
That makes sense. It's the feeling of having the perfect thing to say, the perfect defense, but realizing if you use it, the whole structure just dissolves.
Precisely. And we're talking about modern contexts for powerlessness, too. It could be chronic job insecurity where your career feels like it's constantly fracturing.
Or feeling invisible in a family dynamic where your input is just discounted.
The crumbling teeth are the subconscious processing that you feel disarmed and vulnerable. Not just briefly, but fundamentally.
I think that shift you mentioned, from a tooth falling out to a tooth crumbling into chalk, that's the key psychological analog here.
How so?
Well, a tooth falling out is a loss. A tooth crumbling is an erosion. It's the realization that something you thought was solid, your stability, your confidence, is actually brittle. It's dissolving under the slightest strain.
That's a brilliant distinction. When we talk about chalk, we're talking about something easily erased. The nightmare is showing you that the foundational parts of your life are far more fragile than you believed.
Which leads us to the broader context, the triggers for this nightmare.
Yes, because sometimes it's not just one collapsing relationship. Sometimes it's the sheer overwhelming pressure of navigating change.
And that brings us to the second major finding in the clinical analysis.
The extremely strong link between this specific nightmare and anxiety and transition.
We all go through transitions, but what is it about those moments that makes this specific dream spike?
The reports track dream frequency against life events meticulously. And this dream spikes dramatically during major life changes.
Like what?
Think of the pressure of a difficult divorce, the stress of starting a high-stakes new job, the disorientation of moving to a new country. Any situation where stability is challenged and the outcome's uncertain.
So the teeth, in this context, represent our internal structure, our stability.
And the crumbling sensation is the fear that our ability to cope, our established defenses, our skills, they're insufficient for the new environment. The subconscious is basically screaming, we are structurally unprepared for this.
It's the panic of realizing your old tools don't work anymore. But the analysis also introduces a much deeper, more existential layer to this.
Through the Jungian viewpoint, yes.
Well, what's that?
Well, if transition anxiety is about immediate external change, the Jungian perspective taps into a long-term, inescapable internal anxiety. Carl Jung suggested that losing teeth connects directly to the fear of aging.
And again, this isn't just about worrying about wrinkles.
Far from it. This is about a fundamental terror of losing vitality. The fear is linked to becoming irrelevant, of losing the capability, the sharpness, the strength that your primal weapons represent.
So it's the ultimate anxiety about physical decay and the inevitable loss of agency over time.
It's a staggering cocktail of anxieties, isn't it?
Immediate powerlessness, fear of transitional collapse, and the existential terror of decay.
Yeah.
But the analysis also reminds us that sometimes the answer...
We must always address the physical causes.
You mean it's not always deep-seated psychology?
Sometimes the mind is just a narrative machine. It weaves real physical sensory information into a terrifying story to make sense of the pain.
So the physical sensation is the seed.
Precisely. The reports emphasize that the single most common physical cause cited for this exact nightmare, the gritty, crumbling sensation and pain, is bruxism.
Teeth grinding.
Chronic teeth grinding or clenching during sleep.
Wait, really? So you're literally grinding your teeth, creating real pain and pressure, and your brain receives those damage signals and interprets them as this story, as fundamental decay.
That's the neurological shortcut. The brain receives intense sensory feedback of pressure and pain from the jaw. It has to contextualize it. It doesn't send you a memo saying, warning, stress-induced muscle contraction.
No, it creates a terrifying, visceral story of destruction. The story of molars dissolving into chalk and sand.
It's a fascinating and cruel neurological loop. The real physical pain, which is often caused by the very stress that's making you feel powerless in your waking life,
becomes the narrative vehicle for this psychological terror of collapse. It's a self-fulfilling nightmare.
It really is, and it raises a crucial question for researchers. Is the psychological stress causing the grinding, which then causes the dream? Or does the physical act of grinding generate the whole narrative?
Either way, the physical pain reinforces the feeling of powerlessness. You are literally dismantling your own weapons while you sleep.
You are.
Okay, let's unpack this and summarize the crucial takeaways from this very dark deep dive.
Nuts.
The nightmare of crumbling teeth is not a generic anxiety dream. It is a powerful, highly specific cocktail. It mixes the profound visceral horror of physical decay, the grit, the blood, the chalk dust, with a deep, personalized psychological anxiety.
It's the ultimate nightmare of structural powerlessness.
Right.
It reinforces that this dream is an internal, inescapable reflection of external pressures. Places where you feel your own structure, your defenses, your confidence, your self-image is breaking down.
It's your subconscious using the most solid thing in your body, your teeth, to send a terrifying message.
The foundation is dissolving.
Which brings us back to the terrifying conviction of the dream itself and the final thought we have to leave you with.
If the patient reports all emphasize that the nightmare of teeth crumbling feels 100% real, we have to ask a difficult question.
Does that mean the intense fear of powerlessness it represents is equally real, regardless of our waking protestations or attempts to say, I'm in control?
It forces you to ask, what structural component of your life feels like chalk right now?